important yearbook matters and all.
I didn't know I was gonna be finished.
That's like so annoying.
Is mine her?
Huh?
Why would you say that? That's so
She
rude.
said something was annoying.
That's
I didn't
really
say she was
mean.
annoying.
Anyways,
Like, what do you mean by as a character, like, personality?
yeah, I would say it's personality. Just what do you think of him? Yeah, in general.
Can you call him like an alpha male?
You could.
Does he swim?
Honestly,
I don't really remember.
Huh?
I like read the whole thing, but I don't remember.
Mm-mm.
Or he was like,
You know that's why I had you guys keep them.
oh, that.
I didn't keep it.
Yeah.
I remember reading.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys didn't read Medea. I didn't expect you guys to read the book yet.
I thought, yeah.
No, so again, think about like the tasks that he had to do. Think about how he accomplished them. So the bullfighting, the
He's not very independent
okay. So why do you say that?
because he often required help from others, like Hera. Like he basically couldn't have gone to Please without Hera.
Okay.
And like Hera sat on his task, and he required the help of what's his name?
Her name.
Or
Well, who
the
you
person on the
got?
island, the one that helped direct him.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then also, but I was thinking more towards the end too.
Like he's like still determined though because like he never gave up. He still needed help from other people, but like
He's
I
also
would have
kind.
like
Give up.
yeah
Like you did with that sentence.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but for sure, I think that you can totally be split on Jason as a character so far. Before we read Medea, like in my last class, some people were saying that he was like really heroic or like he took charge in some ways, you know. But then you have other people on the other hand who are saying, well, he wasn't able to complete those tasks on his own. Like he needed Hera's help when he got to Colchis, which is where Medea is from. She had to she was a witch or sorceress. She had to rub this they called a salve on him to keep him from getting burned from the fire breathing bull or whatever. And then also
The trick is it throw the rock.
the rocks, exactly. So she told him to throw a rock at the stone warriors or whatever because she knew that it was a psychological thing. They thought she said well, if they think that they got hit by somebody else, they'll start fighting each other. Yeah.
But he, I don't remember him asking them for help. So in a sense, could you say that you just help him without him saying, "Oh,
True.
help
You could say that he inspired others to help him, so you could make that argument as well. Totally. Like I said, it's definitely something you could be split on, however you want to interpret it. When we read Medea, though, that all these kind of arguments and ideas of Jason, the conflicting ideas of Jason, are going to be part of it, though. So that's why I wanted you guys to read about him and how he accomplished his goals first, so that way you guys can make your own decision on him in the book. So, okay, we are going to read the entire thing next week. Now, the whole book is not just Medea; it's Medea and other plays. If you guys looked at the title. So it's actually about 40 pages. So we'll read a little bit each day next week, but we'll just knock it out real quick. Today we're going to be doing something. We're going to be learning about a new term. And originally I was going to have you guys do presentations, but I wanted to give you guys enough time to work on the presentation. So you're going to actually give presentations on Friday.
presentation?"
Yep, you're going to give presentations on Friday. I'll explain what it is. I haven't got that far yet, but. So first, I have to talk to you guys about what you're going to be talking about, obviously, because I'm introducing a new term, one you probably haven't heard before, so I want to make sure that we all understand what the term is, how to pronounce it, that's always a good thing, and what it how it applies to not only the story we're going to read, but different stories that you guys have seen as well. Okay, first of all, I have to make sure that we know the difference between the two. So this is Medea from ancient Greece. This is Medea from Tyler Perry's Head. So again, M-E is Greek, M-A is Tyler Perry. Okay? So just make sure that when you're writing about them or talking about them that you spell it this way, okay? Or else I'm gonna think you're gonna be talking about Medea goes to jail or something. So okay, So we've already done some myths before. We did all the creation myths way back when we did the podcast stuff. So we've done some myths, but we're going to be doing more traditional. Well, I say traditional. Traditional is probably not the right word. But the type of mythology that you guys are mostly used to is Greek mythology. So it's something that you're probably more familiar with, because I know that you guys did the Odyssey last year. You guys have done some other mythology when you guys were in WAMs at one point, or in junior high in general. I know that, or they used to cover it. I think they still do. But so the reason why we learn about myths is because they help us learn about culture, as far as like what we think like a culture like thought was important, what was important to them based on the myth. So kind of like what we talked about with creation myths. What they thought was important as far as like what rules to follow, like what like kind of values were important to them based off what the story is about. If there's a story about like, you know, being honorable and doing the right thing, you know, that could be something that represents their culture, or helping the elderly, even like that's, you know, a lot of cultures believe in that. American society, not so much. I mean, you laugh, but it's true. Well, how many think about like all the jokes that are made at old people's expenses, right? So, what they valued in the world around them, as far as like could be like something aspects of nature. If they're in the desert, obviously they're like water is going to be super important and like sacred to them, because you know that's how they live and it's important to their survival. So they're going to focus on things that are important to them. Why learn about other cultures? Honestly, learning about other cultures, the reason why is it's important to like know more about people around us. Even in the Central Valley, there's little mini subcultures as well, obviously, because you have like different people from different backgrounds, different experiences. So it's, I would say that one of the largest reasons probably for hatred towards other people in this world is mostly due to ignorance. So the more you learn about other cultures, the more like you understand the commonalities between other cultures. And that, you know, I think that helps with people's understanding, and hopefully that diminishes, you know, random dislike for people. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So, archetypes. Archetype is a new word that has anybody heard that word before? Archetype. Okay, a person, two people. Okay, one of you is not telling the truth. So just to be clear though, archetype, it's not arch type. It's not like an arch you walk under or anything. The CHE makes a K sound in this case, so it's arc, and then the word type attached to it. So archetypes, not just in mythology, but they're everywhere. Basically, they're like categories of characters, like a type of character. So you have obviously the main ones that we're probably most accustomed to are hero and villains. So that's like the most like basic ones, but there's a lot of different ones in between. We're gonna only focus on like 5, but some people argue there's as many as 14 or 20 different types of characters, but we're gonna keep it kind of simple. But it's basically, again, it's a type of character that can be found in different stories. And it kind of helps you create like an understanding of like what motivates those characters, what makes them tick, basically. If you figure out like, oh, well, they're a hero character, so this is what motivates them to be this way. So here are some examples. Hero, mentor, the everyman, the innocent, and the villain. So what I would like you guys to do on a piece of paper or a Google Doc, I don't care which one, you're not going to necessarily turn that in, but I want you guys to do that. So I want you guys to try to come up with like a definition for each one. And this part is independent, but most of the class today is actually going to be in groups.
What do you like come up with a definition, like look it up, or like
I want you to think of like, well, how would you describe a hero? How would you describe a mentor? Just in your own words.
Oh, we're describing them or not?
Yeah. What do those terms mean? So, what did we get to now? 1240s?
Yeah. Yeah.
So 1235. And I'll give you guys some time because again, there are 5 of them up there, so I know it's going to take you a minute for, probably for each one. So
10 minutes.
Huh?
10 minutes.
that's not how math works. 5 times 1 is 5.
No, but like.
I know. I said I'll give you like a minute for each one. And there's 5 of them. So do that basic math there.
What if we don't know one?
Which one?
But I don't know.
The everyman. I don't know.
Think about the word every man, right? If you split it into 2 words, what do you think that character would be like?
Other people?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw a news article saying that the first case of that Omicron has been detected in California. It's like, cool. Really? I mean,
That new
You know.
mini virus, well,
my
not
son
new.
got his second vaccination yesterday. He's 8
New
though, so that's why he
discovery
hasn't
in
had
the
his
COVID
yet.
vaccine. Yeah, I
Did very-
don't know what variant he's I was like, ugh. Yeah, it's
Really?
not new.
Did you get Moderna or Pfizer? Oh, really? I heard where people like from the Moderna one having more like reactions.
It's not really new. It's
I got the
been in the
Pfizer,
COVID.
didn't bug me at all.
It's not new, it's been inside.
My third booster shot, like I felt it in my arm more than like my other ones, but yeah.
The second one was like okay, like a different launch happened, but like I couldn't like get out of there. I was like tired. I was like, I want this.
Are you sure it's just not being an teenager? No, okay. Because what's that?
Mother.
Mentor, if you mentor somebody, like what do you think that is? Like if somebody's mentoring you, what does that mean?
They teach you.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah, part of the issue too, though, Joel, isn't like, not necessarily here, but like in other countries, a lot of people haven't had access to vaccines, so they haven't been able to get them, so it's like, those countries, like, there are more where variants are coming from just because they can't get it, yeah. And so it spreads quicker, faster, and sometimes. Be a better shot next time.
Where she was about to make it, and then it curved right off. I was right there. It's right there. Behind it. Look how you said it's right there. How is she supposed to know right there?
That's true.
That's why I said it's behind. She threw it, but she didn't see it go over there.
No kidding. No.
here.
Probably help if I took this.
What is the code?
What's wrong? Huh?
I asked him, what is the code?
Brandon.
And it's not here.
Yeah. Jason got mad at me for probably telling me his target yesterday, so he didn't show up. Jason,
Oh,
I don't know why.
I don't know why I called him.
Was he not here in his other classes too, or?
Yeah, he's not here.
Oh, okay.
'Cause I called him, he just didn't pick up all.
I'll check out. All right. So I'm just gonna go down the list. I don't know why you mixed it out.
Excuse me.
Whoa.
All right. This way. For the hero, what did you say your definition was for that?
Person who rescues or achieves the impossible.
Okay. Did you come up with that, or did you look it up?
No, I came up with that.
Okay.
Impossible.
Achieves the impossible.
Impossible. I swear. Let's see.
Do me.
Go ahead.
Wait, for the mentor?
Yeah.
Oh. I picked someone who helps people and gives advice. Like kind of like a therapist, like someone that people can talk to.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like, I know some people would say like teaches, but it doesn't have to be like an educator. It could be somebody who just like guides you along like a journey or path or something. A lot of times there'll be older characters or like quote unquote like wise characters, you know. Not always, but a lot of times that's what they are in the story. Okay, everyman, does anybody want to volunteer or should I call in someone?
I don't know what that one was.
He actually is the one who got randomly selected. So Julian, what would you say for everybody?
Well, I just put, I don't know what this, so I just put something that,
What did you put?
I put every man is a guy that's there.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, though. I mean, you're not 100% wrong. The everyman is somebody who represents everybody else. Like they're very average kind of characters.
Oh,
So-
so like who speaks for the background characters?
It's basically like, yeah. So I mean, you would still want them to be a main character, but they're just like they don't have like special abilities or anything like that. They're just kind of there.
They're easily manipulated.
Well, sometimes they can be easily manipulated. That actually kind of goes along with the next one, though. So, Angel, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. A weak, a slightly scared, yet easily manipulated person.
Now, I think it's interesting the words you chose, and I don't disagree with you. I fact, I completely agree with you that innocent characters, because when you say somebody's innocent, it just means usually that they're not like guilty of anything, or it means that they haven't been like tainted by the world around them. But he says things like scared, weak, vulnerable, And really, I mean, it kind of sucks that our world's the way this is, but innocent people usually tend to be, they could be naive, they could be gullible, they could be, taken advantage of really easily. So yeah, I don't disagree with a lot of those words you chose, but yeah, so innocent character is going to be somebody who's usually the victim, though, a lot of times, because, you usually sympathize more with characters who are innocent, whereas, like, if it's some jerk who gets, like, taken out, it's like, oh, well, he had it
He
coming.
deserved it.
Karma, exactly, yeah. So, and then finally, villain.
Bad guy.
I mean, yeah. So, bad guy, so in my last class, somebody said somebody who's evil, but it doesn't have to be somebody who's evil. It just has to be somebody who stands in the way of the hero. So, like, if you're, like, watching, like, a show, like, maybe it's, like, a show about, like, two guys going for the same girl. Like, maybe one guy is not bad, but you just don't like him as much as, like, the main character, right? And so, like, that other person turns into a villain.
So like,
Now, usually the stories will make that other character do something bad because they don't want you to like them. So a lot of times villains will have some major flaws to them. What's up?
Do the villains always have to affect it?
Huh?
Do the villains always have to be affected?
I wouldn't say always. Again, not all these archetypes are always present. It's just sometimes characters will start off as one and turn into something else, like especially if in like a longer series, you know. You'll see one character start off as innocent, and as it progresses, maybe they start to change and become the villain or something. So it just depends. But again, they're just different types of characters, so it's not always going to be exactly right. Okay, so now we're going to be doing group work. So we're going to have groups of 4. So group of 4, group of 3, although Natalie, I'm going to have you join us here. We're going to be group of 4 with them. So group of 4 here, group of 3 here, and you two are going to join those 2 there. So you're going to be the only group of 3. Doesn't mean you have to do extra work or anything, but you just will have one less person. Okay, so what you guys are going to be doing here in groups is first, you're going to be thinking of a modern day myth. So some examples of modern myths would be like, you could think of movies, stories. It doesn't have to be like Tooth Fairy or, you know, Santa, which, you know, I don't want to ruin that for everybody, but, you know, come on now at this point.
Sounds real.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mess that up for you. Anyway, but comics are a good place to start thinking about modern myths. And again, it doesn't have to just be the comics, but it could be the movies that are inspired by the comics. Horror movies are good. Basically, a myth is just essentially like a world that exists where there's like, first of all, it has like a lot of the archetypes, but it basically has its own rules for the world too. Like its own rules. It has like, there's a term that we use like in English called world building, where they've like created this world. So like a lot of horror movies like Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Purge, Conjuring, yeah, any of those. So those have like different rules and stuff for their worlds that they've created, a lot of them. Now some of them are more realistic than others, whereas some are more supernatural, obviously, depending. But those could be examples of modern myths though. So I want you guys, too far. I want you guys to talk in your group. So now you'll need to come to your group of 3 over there, and you two will need to go over there. But I want you guys to talk about, brainstorm up, and just come up with different ideas for modern myths that you might want to talk about.
Like that.
Batman.
No.
I mean, you could just say anything. It's
I never looked at that. I don't like these.
I mean, yeah.
yeah, you.
Okay, on DC just because they make crappy movies.
Oh,
They do.
they do. That's why I
They
don't
make
like
something
it.
good. I am excited for the new Batman. I'm
Oh,
curious to see how that is.
I don't think I can realize.
Did you go back to what's that? Oh, Patterson. Yeah, he's the new Batman. Which at first I was like, really, that dude's the Twilight guy? But he actually looks pretty good. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, yeah. The duendes. The duendes.
So they add one, you can just kind of random, I mean, you can say like skinwalkers.
That's why those little guys. Did you say skinwalkers?
Yeah. So it's random, but like, it's not, no, that is a good.
kind of monsters. I'll do it.
Our
I don't think I could definitely do it.
Oh no, I was with this because I can't think of anything in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
Actually, no, I was actually
Yeah, sorry guys.
My mom says she's like,
I say Stranger Things. Stranger Things. Since that's like really like not real.
he saw it like
I mean, most movies are real.
Yeah.
Most are like.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Star Wars.
Star Wars is not real. There's no way.
And by
So we don't know that's not happening right now. Somewhere in space.
Like, how do you know? Don't be so arrogant that you think you know everything.
Because we're the only people left.
Like Galileo was in
Actually, I don't know.
denial. He knew these things.
Well, what if that's crazy though? That, like there's like other galaxies and stuff. Maybe like people like in that. It's crazy. Anyways, awesome.
I'm never on it. How are you?
I'm always awesome.
I'm never.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams, how do you feel about Twilight?
I mean, it's garbage.
I agree. I agree.
I
The
mean,
book and
especially like as like a literature major,
Uh-huh.
that's so poorly written, but that's fine.
I know.
I don't think they're thinking about the right. They're thinking
Only like the last movie because it has like a battle scene. Yeah. Like
That's a cool. Who thought of sparkling vampires? Why?
I don't know.
I like vampires.
I like vampire, bro.
I like werewolves. Not like those people that are yeah. I would have hunger.
Squid Game.
Yeah.
I still get to watch that.
Dude, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really
it
good.
gets really dark. I think.
Yeah, it gets really hard. Yeah.
No wonder why it's costing.
It is super weird.
I think the first episode took too long for me to like it just took too long. It was dragging. I think.
Yeah, like the first episode it's like really dragging and it gets to the point to like the second episode. So like we're going to see in there.
Don't.
Yeah. But it's a cool series. I like the series. I like it a lot.
Which is
Which is. Oh, wait, I like. Some people who just go.
Spider-Man.
I already know Spider-Man.
Well, we can say the whole Marvel universe.
Literally,
That's such a fun movie.
You're coming up with so many myths.
Oh. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Ghostbusters.
I just saw that actually.
Was it good?
Oh yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Honestly, Venom.
Have some Gucci.
I don't know about that. I haven't seen the first one though, honestly, so I can't really say anything.
I saw the first one. It's pretty weird. Yeah, but I saw. Well, I want to see the second one because it has carnage in it. I want to see how.
It's just it's okay.
Really?
The second one. The second one.
The Mexican.
Venom?
Mermaids?
Mexican.
Oh, dude.
I forgot about that. They're really silent. They're called silent.
Dune. Dune's really long.
Dune's good. I really like partial.
Isn't it? You could subtitles.
You gotta just remember that they're fighting over spices. People want to take them for their energy.
I heard that. I think Zendaya like 8 lions, and they like put her like out on like all the trailers and like all the things like
They take advantage of her.
she only had like 8 lions.
The myth of Corona. The Polar Express. I just forgot about that.
Sorry, that's really random. I mean, who would be the villain in that though?
The train. I don't know.
The train?
What do we do?
Disbelief, I guess.
The
Like the
weather.
lack of believing. I
I'm finding out which is the middle.
It'd be like
Common
morally
sense?
wrong.
I don't know.
It'd be the weather.
The Adam
The others? Yeah.
I don't watch the
Have
Addams
you? They made a new Home Alone.
Oh,
They
I know.
did.
They did.
I watched it. My kid watched it. No,
Is it good?
it was stupid.
Why?
It was really stupid.
I hate how they bring back old movies with like even like
But it's not necessary.
like yeah, it's like not necessary.
Yeah, that's fine.
Godzilla.
Oh, Godzilla's a
What
good
about that
one.
monkey dude? What's his name?
He called the monkey dude.
I forgot his name.
I changed your proof. I think monkey dude.
Yeah. Monkey dude. Yeah. That's cool. I like the new one they like came out with, but it was like it was a lot.
Which one are we picking next? The Jungle Cruise?
Fast and Furious, literally.
Okay, moving on. So, okay, I want you guys to, if you guys haven't already, you guys should have talked about it. I want you guys to pick what myth you're going to be talking about. So your whole group is going to talk about the same myth because you're going to have to pick different characters within your topic. So think about like which one, whatever one you choose, will need to have at least like 3 or 4 of the ones that we talked about. So you'll need to have one per one of these each represented, or however there many are. And so if there's 4 of you, you only need to do 4 of them. You don't have to do all 5.
Wait, a myth in a story or a myth?
No, so like for example, Batman could be considered a modern day myth. So like you can pick characters from that. So who is the hero of it? Obviously we know Batman. Who's the villain? Yeah. So and then you'd have to figure out who would an everyman be, or who would
What
an
if it's
innocent
like
be.
leprechauns?
No, Leprechaun's not modern though.
Oh yeah. Same kind of
I think we said was modern.
Yeah, it needs to be a modern thing. So, but anyway, so take a few more minutes, decide which modern myth you guys are gonna cover. Okay.
Can we do 5?
What do we have?
So how would that work with Mr. like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? How would that work? Just wrong. How would like the whole villain and hero thing work with like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? That's like the same person.
Well,
I don't know anything.
I say we don't do.
I mean, you would probably treat them as 2 different
Because-
characters.
They're in a way,
Yeah, but like
they're both villains and both heroes.
being like the villain, would you say that the person, or like, oh, this is the whole expression, and that's like the.
No, I'll be completely honest. I have never read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. My wife has, but you would probably say that the police would probably be the hero in it, and you would be the villain. So even though he's the main character.
And that's where we get.
Yeah.
Spider-Man. It's
Spider-Man Homecoming?
It could be either. I mean, it could be. No, actually, it could be. Yeah. It could be. Yeah, because I think he has a mentor. That's
Well, he could be just, I think,
Yeah,
Yeah.
who can be like that.
he's the hero. Spider-Man would be the hero.
Do they do it as this movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
Spider-Man Homecoming.
yeah.
And then who's the guy with
It would
the
be.
wings?
The week.
That's like, isn't it named like something? Vulture?
Yeah, Vulture.
Oh, that's the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be like
The villain.
Spider-Man Homecoming. The mentor.
Can I put this in?
And then who are the everyman is that one bracket.
But they're not average, are they?
He's average because
They're an innocent.
the innocent has to be
Who's like,
Vulture's daughter. Last one that I remember.
okay.
Right?
What do they, what do they mentor?
I like the
I guess
name.
so. She's like thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I watched you guys.
I watched Canva.
We don't, we just need to.
No, it was like. I
Don't
watched
we? We only need to do 4, and we need to fill out the whole thing.
No, just 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and your person isn't back yet, right? So, I mean, you guys can decide without them.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna start over here. No duplicate, so somebody picks one, then you have to pick something else. So we're gonna start on this side. So who are you guys choosing? What's your modern myth?
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man?
Oh my god.
Well, I guess you guys are picking something else, so. So I had you guys brainstorm multiple, so.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Star Wars.
Star Wars, okay?
Wait, which
Do
one
you
did
want me to come back to you guys?
Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know. What the?
Okay, alright, we'll start with Angel, your guys' group. What are you guys picking?
Oh, we're picking a free guy.
What is it?
Free guy.
Oh, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds, yeah. Alright, and then you guys in the back, what are you guys choosing? And then I'll come back to you guys.
Wait, is that the new one?
Yeah.
I had to set
Really?
it.
Bro, do Batman.
Okay,
Like the new
so,
one?
And
well, I guess you're going with your third option then.
Wait.
What's my third option?
With that.
Just pick something
Oh,
from Marvel.
in the,
Come on, it's not that hard.
oh, now you haven't watched it.
I mean, it makes sense.
I do.
At the ending of,
You said you didn't like DC, so I assume you like Marvel.
I was gonna pick Batman, but
It makes sense because Venom is
Iron Man,
a villain for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Captain America, Thor.
What we do, Joe?
Probably.
That would be kind of interesting, like the Joaquin Phoenix version.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'd be interesting.
I
And
don't that.
I want to see that compared to like what they say about Batman. So yeah, go for it. All right. Hold on 1 second. So go ahead and decide what characters you guys are gonna be in charge of. Okay. Now that you guys know what you're covering.
The brother's name is Liz, I think. Yeah.
So we just wait it out.
It's not showing me her, it's showing me her.
Yes, he could be. That's me. So, one presentation now. Never. I mean, it's crazy what Kingpin is. His mom is in the hospital. Yeah, that's the other thing. Molotov.
Okay.
I'm like,
So again, each person from your group is going to have a different character, so a different archetype that they're going to represent. There are 5, but you only have to do however many there are in your group. So this group is a group of 3, they only have to do 3. This is a group of 4, they only have to do 4. So again, it's the same amount of work for everybody. I'm not adding any work by having more or less people in there. Time. Anyways. So you're going to create a presentation, and each person will present their character to everybody else. There will be, however, a couple of group slides. One in the beginning, like an introduction, and one at the end for like a conclusion. So I'll come back to that. One group image. So at the very beginning, you're gonna have an image for your whole group, it doesn't have to be of you guys, but of your myth. So just one image, and then it would say like Batman or whatever, and it would have your guys' names on it. And then afterwards, you'll each individually talk about your character. You have an image of your character, the name, what archetype are they, hero, mentor, villain, innocent, everyman. The definition of the archetype, not on the search engine, whatever we came up with, because you guys already did that. So again, you should have your own definition for each one. That's why I said I wasn't collecting it, but you guys would be using it. And then an explanation of how they fit into that archetype. So how does that character fit the everyman? How does that character fit the hero? And don't just say duh because it's Batman for like hero or something. And then the final slide or whatever you choose to do, because I'm going to talk about picking different apps. But you're going to have a conclusion image. So one more image at the very end that explains what the values are that your myth conveys. What's the lesson that you are learning from your story? So here are the apps that you will be able to use. So Google Slides, obviously, but again, very, very basic if you guys use that. I'll give extra credit if you literally use anything other than Google Slides. Just because Google Slides is boring to look at, so I want to okay. But anyway, so Adobe Video. So if, let's say, you don't want to all get up in front of the entire class, has anybody used Adobe Spark Video before? Okay. So what it is it's kind of like Google Slides. You like have images, text that you add to it. The only difference is you do like a video, you do a voiceover recording, and it makes the slides and your voice recording for each slide into a video. So if you want to do that, you don't want to get up in front of everybody, that's totally cool. You are welcome to do that. Adobe Pages is kind of like a web page designer thing, which is what I use, because I'm going to show you my sample in just a second. It looks really nice. Prezi, I think Prezi still works. I don't know. It's been a couple years since I've used it, but it only works on the computer, so you would have to hop on one of my computers if you wanted to do that one. Has anybody seen a Prezi or know what they look like? It's like, it like zooms in and then it like zooms out and it like zooms on a different part of the presentation. And instead of like making separate slides, it's one giant thing. That's what Prezi is. So if you want to do that, it can be kind of complicated. So I don't blame you if you don't choose that one. You can do an iMovie because you can add images and stuff into iMovie. Although if you do that, I honestly think Spark Video is a lot easier. You can use Canva, which is like a poster making kind of app, but you can make multiple posters in the same presentation. And then Shadow Puppet. I don't know if anyone still uses Shadow Puppet, but I mean, you could do that one also. So I'm going to show you an example of a presentation that I made. And I did all 5 archetypes. Just because. The man without fear. Okay. So I did mine on Daredevil, specifically the Netflix version of Daredevil, which is really cool. I really miss the old Netflix Marvel shows because they're so much better in my opinion than the movies, but that's fine. Okay, so here's my introduction. It's kind of hard to see. It's a little dark up here actually, but you can kind of see his mask up here, the silhouette of it. So that's my introduction. Like, hi, I'm Mr. Williams. I will be talking to you guys about Daredevil, the man without fear. So first, I'm going to talk about the hero. So the hero of the story is Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. A hero is somebody who's willing to put their own well-being aside for the well-being of others. They are usually the savior to the innocent and to the characters of the story. So notice that I didn't necessarily read it word for word when I got up here to present. Also, too, notice that mine might look different from yours, and that's okay. If you have slightly different interpretations of what the different archetypes are, that's okay. Okay, so then I have my picture of my character. Matt Murdock is a blind son of a boxer who grows up to become the daredevil of Hell's Kitchen. He relies on super heightened sense of just all of his different senses. So he can hear things super well, like from really far away. He could feel like vibrations from people as well, almost kind of like a bat, but like a more extreme version of it. But he relies on those senses to fight others. And during the day, he's also a lawyer, so who's a defendant. So he tries to protect people both in and out of his like hero alias. All right, the mentor. The mentor is a person who guides the hero and provides advice in order for the hero to be successful. And that mentor in this is Stick. Stick, old dude. Just like, I don't know what is it with this class and bugs. First it was the cockroach and
Just kidding, bro. You scared of me.
copper.
What are you doing? Where'd it go?
It's on you.
It's on me where?
Yeah, on your chin.
leg. On my chin.
Shin, this thing. Just walk outside.
You don't want to kill it.
Just walk outside. It'll be your little passenger.
Is it actually on here? Or you
Yeah,
just-
no, it was. It was like.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's
I thought you
literally
were
hanging
trolling me.
Yeah,
on.
I know. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Why'd you come back?
I know, right? And then it'll be on your channel.
Watch it.
Yeah. Okay, so Stick, getting back to this, is Matt Murdock's mentor. He's a blind. He's also blind, just like Daredevil is. He taught him to use his blindness not as a disadvantage, but to use it as a way, an opportunity to become more responsive in ways, and he could actually in some ways see better than people with sight because he's able to sense things like in a different way. The difference though, the one thing, so like he kind of breaks his mentor role a little bit because Stick isn't afraid to kill people who he feels are evil. And so there's actually been points where Murdock will actually be fighting the bad guys alongside Stick, but then also fight Stick and prevent him from killing other people because his weapon of choice is a sword. So whereas Daredevil's is like it's, I forgot what's called, it's like it's some sort of it's a stick, it's like a baton kind of thing. But anyways, but so that creates a point of conflict between the two. So all right, so the everyman is a person who represents the average viewer or reader. There's somebody, they don't even have any like special like abilities or anything, but sometimes they can go above and beyond, and they can like, you know, what I set up there is transcend, which means to go above like what their normal role is. So this one is Foggy. Foggy is Matt Murdock's lawyer partner. So in the beginning of the series, he has no idea that his partner is Daredevil. He discovers it over time. He also discovers that Murdock can actually in some ways see better than he can, just because he's always assumed that he was helpless, and obviously Matt Murdock kind of plays that up a little bit because he doesn't want people to know he's Daredevil. But anyways, so Foggy is, like I said, he's his partner. He's very intelligent, but at the same time, he doesn't have any like super strengths or special abilities or anything like that. So he does represent kind of the average person. He also sometimes serves as a moral compass as well, which a moral compass means that like, even though he's not his mentor, he can kind of like redirect Matt Murdock when he's like about to make a bad decision. He's also the comic relief. So sometimes he's like the guy who makes the jokes. The innocent is a character that has not done anything wrong, but often serves as a victim for whoever the hero is, and they usually need to be rescued or assisted in some way. Towards the beginning of the series, this is one where I talked about where characters can change. Karen Page is the innocent in this story, and she was a victim because Fisk, which I'll get to in just a moment, She uncovered some information about like his shady like business dealings and stuff like that. And in order to like keep her quiet, he tries to kill her. And then also like tries to like sue her essentially. So she basically is getting attacked from him both legally and illegally. So Matt Murdock, the lawyer, has to protect her legal interests, and then Daredevil has to protect her from physically being harmed. She later becomes more self-sufficient, and you actually learn later that she's not as innocent as she seems, because she's actually killed a couple of people. You find out later, which spoiler, just but you know, hey. If you haven't watched it, it's been out for like 8 years, so I mean, at this point, that's on you. But the villain is somebody who stands in the way of the hero's success. So I try to keep it as vague as possible. I didn't talk about how evil they are or bad they are, but it's somebody who stands in the way. This guy does happen to be very bad. So Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin. So if you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, he's a big hulking dude, you know. So obviously different versions, they look a little different. He was an excellent Kingpin, this actor. In fact, he might make an appearance in the MCU, and I heard Daredevil might be appearing in the new Spider-Man too, so I'm excited about that. But Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin, is the boss of an organized crime syndicate. He is very calculating, which means he doesn't necessarily worry about people's like emotions when he makes decisions. He's more concerned just like, is this going to be what's in his best interest? And he is very ruthless, and he will kill people who get in his way of achieving his goals. So what Daredevil teaches, so this would be the conclusion, the last like group slide for you guys. So the moral of Daredevil is that we learn that it's important to rely on other people and to utilize each other's strengths, but it also teaches us to be understanding of each other's weaknesses as well, and to realize that, you know, everybody has their weaknesses and we have to support each other to overcome them. So that was it though. So, hooray. All right, but anyway, so that's what you guys are going to be doing though. Again, I did all this on my own. You guys are going to have the benefit of working with groups to do it. So, and you only have to do 4 of the archetypes or 3 in your group's case. But you will need to have you'll need to have this last area where it's, again, what we learn, what like life lesson do we learn, and then just like an opening kind of image, and you guys would have your names. I didn't put my name on there, but anyways. Questions?
When is this?
We're gonna be,
Oh,
like I
Friday,
said,
huh?
yeah, we're gonna give the presentations Friday, so you guys need to be done with your slides today. Also, too, I forgot to tell my first grade about it, but that's okay. They can figure it out later. I'll tell them. But we are your final is also gonna be a presentation. Huh? Yes, it's gonna be by yourself, but it's not gonna be in front of the entire class. What it's gonna be is you're gonna be giving like let's say you're in a group of 4 right now, you'd be giving your presentation to your group of 4. And so it'd be like that. And I'll walk around and I'll be listening in, I'll be marking you guys down. So you'll turn in your presentation the Wednesday before finals. And then for you guys, forget if you guys are Thursday or Friday, so forgive me for not knowing.
Next time is Thursday.
Is it Thursday for you guys?
Yeah, Thursday is Wednesday, so next week.
Well, I know, but for finals week, I don't know.
It's Thursday and
Friday. Because it's Thursday and Friday, it's like kind of like the block schedule. But let's just say it's Thursday, right? So Wednesday, you'll turn in your presentation, so that way I can grade the presentation part of it, because I won't be able to do it while watching you guys present. And then I will grade you on strictly like how well you are prepared for your presentation on Thursday. So just FYI, and I'll obviously, so you guys will have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the week of finals, to prepare for your presentation. So you'll have 3 days to work on it. So you guys will have plenty of time. I'm doing this to kind of like get you guys prepared for that, so that way you guys have some practice presenting before we do the final. All right. Sorry, I'm looking at that. Way too far. Okay, so there's the requirements for your presentation. So go ahead, you guys can start working on it. Just remember to extra credit if you attempt to use something else. And obviously you won't lose points for using Google Slides, so if you guys really just don't want to bother with it, that's fine. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try something new. But anyways, you guys have the rest of the period to work on this presentation though. Yeah.
Hey, Joe, don't start looking at money.
Did you download the app? Yeah. And then you send it to Google.
Oh.
Right at the meeting and read on.
Yeah.
And like.
And if you guys do choose to use one of the other apps, just really quick, can I give you guys some advice? So if you do use one of the other apps, hold on. Maybe, so like Google Slides, obviously I know you guys could work on it at the same time. Technically you won't be able to on the other one. So like, let's say you do Adobe Spark Pages. And let's say Esteban is gonna be working, he's gonna put it all together. What I would suggest you guys do is like put everything on a Google Doc so that way that one person who's going to put it together can just pull from the Google Doc and put it into whatever app you guys choose. Obviously, if you choose a Google Slides, you don't have to do that workaround. But again, just that's another way to do it. So
Basically, our Google Sites is our base of it, like the planning.
No. You can use Google Slides. You just want to get extra credit.
Yeah.
But you can use it like to like share your doc and like work on it together. Yeah. So.
Well, you just do a Google Doc and like put the indexes like that.
Yeah.
You can also do a Google Doc. Just make it simple. Or we could do it like that. I have like too many characters.
Oh.
So who's doing the
He said that he was gonna do the mentor. I'm gonna do the
and I can do everything. Their name will be the Instagram.
Should we get the other one instead of intro?
Everyone we use Frank because he's like there, he's like smart and knows about ways of having talking.
Okay, and then supposed to be
Well, I could be the one.
yeah. And then you want to do the entitlement?
I'll do so you guys can switch.
Yeah. And then each of us also add a title. That's the title page.
Just like showing, but I can't like edit it. I can't edit the slide.
Oh, it's not letting you
Oh, there
guys.
you go.
Okay. Spider-Man. Yeah.
Clean your slide.
Oh, then we need an image.
No, it's right. I'm sorry, the first slide. Now use the second slide too. Oh, but she took all of it.
No, her daughter is not. Look at that. Megan,
Yeah.
that's his daughter. I don't know what that was.
I forgot how to use that.
He knows that he like.
Copy paste, then you just put in the photo and it's just so,
Oh, yeah.
done with it.
Which is this one?
My one thing was,
Okay.
Did you put it on your name? Yeah. I believe
Adobe Spark. You know, the whole story is on, you can add a, what's it called?
But it's just.
You can add text. Yeah. But,
I'll add it.
villain is him. Yeah.
I'll add it.
The hero is. Yeah. See, the mentor is innocent. The mentor I just. Which one? I could.
It's not working.
What?
The start page.
for me, it's working.
Is it?
Can you do it?
Yeah, the city. I'll do it for you.
Okay.
Oh, look, it's not another as the city. The city is the
Wait, the mentor's you.
So did you watch Free Guy?
Well, this is the hero, right?
I remember.
So I'll do here. So we are gonna.
Wait.
Let me see how does it look.
Yeah, he's a. Oh, yeah.
Let me see how it looks.
Yes, I know.